appreciative of people's flexibility. Right now, it looks like we have a lot of people from S&P. I love it. Thank you. The time change for this meeting has kind of thrown off a lot of people. But for those of you that are attending, I appreciate your flexibility. You're probably wondering why we're all on the same screen. Well, there's an easy explanation. We are in Fort Worth, Texas this week for a cybersecurity and AI technical conference. And we do these probably about once a quarter or so. Noah's been to a couple of them. Andronique, this is your first. Amber, who's also on in another location to be privately disclosed. We've done this quite a bit, right? And it's an opportunity for us to learn new things, network with our peers. I know most of you attend your conferences within your own industries, so you understand the value. And in particular, of course, we are here to learn about how businesses are utilizing AI, how we can help you better through our growth and profit process, and how businesses are leveraging the power of the fractional AI officers, the virtual chief AI officer services and roles, right, within this new tech marketplace, right? And so because we are at a learning event, we thought it might be a good idea to talk about the importance of leadership, mindset change, right, around learning AI. I think there's a group of leaders, right, that are all in on this, right? They want to learn about it, they want to understand it, right, to be able to make good choices and decisions around AI. There are some organizations that the leadership is more about delegation, right? So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about the pros and cons of that today. And let's be real, like AI isn't just changing how we do business, it's changing who wins business. And the organizations that are the winners aren't the ones maybe that have the coolest tools or the most data, right? They are the ones that are learning the fastest and building a culture of AI within their organizations. It's not just a tool, right? It is culture. And so today's session will be a little bit different. We're not going to have a slideshow. We're just going to be kind of talking about three different areas. Like I'll be starting out talking about mindset shift, right? Because a big part of AI adoption, again, is establishing and building that culture. Well, that starts with you guys, right? It is a leadership choice to bring AI into your business, just like it is to bring any technology or any change, honestly, to your business. So I believe that learning, and especially when it comes to AI, is non-negotiable leadership skill. And learning about AI and its value will help shape your decision making. It'll help shape the communication to your teams, and even your own confidence, right, in deploying and understanding and managing this. Andronique is going to talk about how to operationalize that shift. And as we were working through this, I had a tough time pronouncing that word for some reason, but I just nailed it there.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah, it took I don't know, 7. Yeah, literally, like it just rolled off the tongue. But yeah, so Andronique's going to talk about how to turn some of this curiosity, right? And those of you that have been attending, this for a while, you're starting to get into this a little bit more. But really turning that curiosity into real AI-powered learning culture. And that's like cross departments. And it doesn't matter if you are in sales, if you're in operations, if you are in human resources or customer service. So she's going to talk about how learning faster can compound everywhere across all of your teams. And finally, Noah will be putting some of this all together and showing and talking about the process that we go through. Many of you have heard us talk about the AI growth and profit assessment process that we go through to help our customers understand where value is, how we can measure ROI and success, how can we be ready, right? How can we reduce the risk of introducing AI into our businesses? All around the AI growth and profit assessment, and then kind of why the fractional AI officer or the chief AI officer position within your organizations really isn't a luxury anymore. It's your learning advantage. So again, to kind of recap some of the AI boardrooms that we've had, we first started out talking about prompting, right? And if you recall, I look at AI as two major, I guess, categories. The conversational AI that you have, ask a question, get an answer, ask for something, get a response or something generative that way, is the prompting piece of this, right? So we talked about the drive principle, prompting your AI to define the problem, assign it a role, ask it to interview you to clarify, assigning it a voice, right? And then ultimately what the end game is on what you wanted to get out from that response. Next, we talked about the other piece of this a little bit around AI automations, digital roles, digital employees, right? This is kind of where the rubber really meets the road, right? Where you really start to see a lot of value. It's also where you introduce risk into your organizations, right? So that's why we do the risk and readiness as part of the AI GPA. And that's kind of, around some of the technology, right? And that's understanding your workflows and your process, your standard operating procedures, and building out automations around to help you see a huge ROI advantage. Money back in your pocket is what we want to, our goal for all of this is. And then I think last week, these guys, I hope, helped you learn a little bit more about some how to think through use cases. Every business, right, that we work with is unique, and every organization that is looking to put AI into their environment is using different tools, different software, have different goals. And so we talked somewhat about some of those use cases. And again, today we're talking about learning and culture and mindset shift. And we're kind of breaking this down into the mindset, the
method,
and the
measurement
and the movement, right? So
M's.
yeah, so hopefully that's easy to remember. But really, if you are a business leader in your organization, which most of you are, I've got some news, right? You are now your company's chief learning officer. Some organizations may have learning and development, right? But you are it, right? You are the person within your organization to set the tone for the culture of your business, to drive home how cool this stuff is, right? But at the same time, making sure that we do this carefully and safely. Your job isn't to just steer this in your organization, right? But it's also to help stay curious about this stuff. I like to say stay dangerous, right? But in a good way, right? Where you are competitive in your marketplace, and learn and keep and grow, right? Continue to develop this curiosity for this stuff. And it's not about becoming technical, right? It's really about becoming adaptive. And so every market disruption, like we saw with the internet, like we honestly had a few years ago with cybersecurity, and now AI, right, is shifting the need for leaders, right, to make this about culture and to drive this from the top down. So why should leaders take ownership and learning of AI? Well, for one, of course, AI is transformational, right? It's a business transformation. It's not a technical initiative. Leaders really must engage because AI is reshaping your strategy. It is reshaping your operations and honestly changing the customer experience. It's not just automating background tasks, although that's part of it. You can't delegate this stuff, right, without understanding. Can you imagine, of course, if you are responsible for, I don't know, brain surgery, right? Like obviously you don't understand it, but imagine trying to delegate that, trying to select a surgeon, trying to recruit, trying to measure without understanding it, at least in a little bit. It just doesn't work. You're going to miss opportunities. You're not going to be able to ask the right questions. You're not going to be able to provide that oversight that you need to as a leader. Like I said, leadership sets the cultural tone. When leaders prioritize learning, experimentation with this stuff, it gives permission and encouragement to your team to do the same thing. Now, obviously, we want to do that within some sort of guardrails and some sort of context of control and oversight, right? But you want to instill confidence that people can use this stuff, experiment with this stuff. That's where the cool things happen. And like I mentioned, you can't lead if you don't understand it. Vision setting, assigning resources, and managing tasks around AI requires some level of base understanding. And obviously, we're a tech company, so we believe that being tech curious is a competitive advantage, right? It's a necessity, right? But I believe it's also an advantage, and especially if you are AI literate, those executives are able to adapt faster, evaluate vendor promises, as they go through this stuff, and challenge the status quo, right? Not just accepting what's out there, and that even goes for stuff that we are telling you, right? You guys need to learn this stuff and understand what we're talking about, really understand the recommendations that we are putting forth, and it honestly helps during the AI GPA process, right? The better, and Enrique's going to go into a little bit about that, about preparing for a really, really successful growth and profit assessment. You start by understanding what is possible in some of these technologies. It helps when we ask the questions to make it, more seamless. Yeah. I like to call out Robert Lessman, right? Because he was prepared, Becky prepared, right? Yeah. So we did a couple AI GPAs last week, right? And it was a little bit painful, right? It was, yeah. There was a lot of, we asked questions and it was a lot of looking up into the light.
For very long silences.
Yeah, like,
not
right. Yeah. And these are lessons that we're learning too, right? And so that's why we're having this conversation today, is educated customers in context with this have a more successful AI GPA. We uncover more valuable information. We can create more value in ROI. And I think honestly, AI literacy is the new financial literacy, right? Like, you don't need to be a CPA, right, to understand your P&L reports of your businesses. You don't even need to code for AI, but you do need to have some sort of literacy and understanding of it. So I'm going to hand this over to Enrique to talk about the method. Method and the madness, yeah. So
well, I think Ken hit on it pretty well, but I do want to just review a little bit that the business begins with the people. So obviously you guys here and being here now, really trying to understand how AI is going to influence you, but also your employees and your whole industry. How it's going to get you to your next step and to your future as a leader. So business begins with the people. I'm sure all of you guys notice that, but now it's a matter of influencing your employees. Because really there's 3 different types of employees you probably have right now. The ones that are dabbling just a little bit in the AI, the ones that might be a little bit more experienced, but then you have those people that are like, nope, I do not understand this. Get it away from me. I don't want to touch it. It sounds scary. What's going to happen next? So how you decide to influence them is really up to you, but I think that we would be able to help you do that too. And I really love this type of stuff of getting people to that next mindset shift, right? The good news is we have a lot of different ways of capturing that with you guys and your employees in your industry. So this isn't a matter of you having to hire an AI engineer or someone to develop all of this for you. This is really the people in your industry already. I'm going to go ahead and grab that. It comes down to a few different functions that you already have: your sales, your operations, HR, finance. The list is very extensive. And like Ken mentioned, we have a lot of different clients with a lot of different tasks that you're doing. So I want you guys to, again, challenge yourself for the next couple of weeks before we do the AI GPA with you, to start thinking about these tasks and jotting them down so that when we do the AI GPA, we can actually go over them with you in a systematic format and really have a structure to everything.
And as part of that AI GPA, and those of you that have gone through that, some of you have on this call, many of you have not, the process, of course, is conversation, right? Like, we want to talk about your business, what applications you're using, how you're maybe using AI currently, where do you see friction in your business as far as time and value. And when we focus on the risk and readiness side of it, so it's two sides of the same coin, right? The opportunity is one side, which is the fun stuff, right? Where can this go? What can this do? How do I shove more cash in my pocket? The other side of that, of course, is the risk and readiness piece, making sure that you are doing this safely and smartly. And one of the things that we find, right, that dramatically improves this process is thinking through what those workflows are, right? And I've talked about this before. You can think about it in two different ways, either as an employee, if you were saying, I have a marketing analyst and I want to be able to recreate those tasks, right? That marketing analyst job, right? Or I know that these are specific workflows, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and everyone looks at this differently, but thinking through this ahead of time helps, right?
No, and those are some examples that we like to give here. So I'm sure we've all been there. We're trying to do a million things at once, and there's one piece of information that we can't gather. It's going to cost us time to go and search for it or go to a different department to get the answer. It's kind of just a pain. So having the workflow and the AI in order to ask it a question for your specific industry so that you can get that information a little bit quicker. So for example, explaining the client policy, like you don't understand it at all. So like you're a 12-year-old that just needs to understand your client policy. Maybe that's not your department typically, but you have to have a better understanding. There's a lot of different routes that we can take with this. And so that's kind of like where we're headed to, which is really exciting stuff.
Yeah. And, as Andronique says, think through this department by department. When we go through your AI GPA, we actually tackle it department by department, from sales to marketing to operations to finance. And again, for those of you that joined late, we are in the same room together because we are at a learning conference right now, right? We're talking about AI with a bunch of our peers. There's probably a couple hundred IT providers that are also working with their client base on how to get the most out of AI. And so be thinking through this department by department, learning how each of those operate specifically, right? Documenting those processes, it'll make our job much easier.
Yeah, and maybe even like reaching out to those specific peoples or the managers in each one of those departments, so you really have an idea of what they need help with. Maybe there's mundane tasks that they're doing every single day or on a weekly basis that we can help automate for you guys.
Yeah, and I would even go so far as when we do set the AI GPA schedule, that you include those people.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of breaking it down by departments. So again, think about these things and maybe jot them down so that when we do the AI GPA, we can go over it with you again and detail it out a little bit further. But think about your sales department. Some questions you could ask yourself is writing a custom email sequence. What custom email sequences might you need? Learning client objections to build a smarter response. Creating playbooks and qualifying leads using prompt templates. In your operations side of things, it could be drafting policies and procedures, mapping out onboarding workflows, and coaching teams. Finance and admin side of things, using AI to reconcile vendor billing, building dashboards, or simplifying tax planning. Again, just jot these down. I'm sure there's so many other things in each one of these, so put them down. HR is a big one. I've done HR before, so I get it. Writing job descriptions, drafting review questions, and practicing the tough conversations in a safe place. I think that those are all very, very well thought out things that you can utilize. So.
Yeah, and so underneath, she's kind of gone through some of these potential ideas. These are just starter things to be thinking about. Once we do the AI GPA, right, we do gather some information, some ideas, but we actually utilize AI, shocking, right, to help us come up with other ideas, right? So it starts with you, because you guys are the leaders of your organization. You have lots of institutional knowledge, right? Hopefully some of it documented that, can be repeatable and scalable, but even not, this is the opportunity to fix that.
Yeah, absolutely. So really just creating AI users or not just creating the AI users, but creating AI learners. Because obviously you guys are all going to be from different industries, have different tasks that you're doing, different departments. So having the AI learn what you guys need as individuals in each section. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I would like to pass it off to Mr. Noah here with the little blue jacket.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep the theme, obviously, of learning today. But the thing, what gives you the ability to learn is actually being able to measure stuff, you know, measuring certain KPIs. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it,
Right.
you know? Like if you had like say a sales, say a phone dialer, if you don't know how many appointments they're sending each day, how many calls they're making, there's nothing you can really do about it to actually tangibly improve. What we're seeing a lot of the times with most small and medium businesses right now with the use of AI is that they're sort of dabbling in it, you know, like they sort of don't have a set plan, a set way to measure for sure. And they're really like getting wins here and there, maybe using ChatGPT or Copilot or certain things like that. But they're all left with like the same question. Like, is this actually making my business more profitable and more efficient? And that's really why the growth and profit assessment is so important, because we're going over all the important aspects of your business and showing you how and when we're going to be able to actually measure these and with set ROI like metrics. Like the 5 parts of the AI GPA really that it goes over. One, like we've talked about, strategic alignment, like getting everybody on board, like all the high level managers, the leaders of your business. If you can't get everybody on board and strategically aligned on how to implement this stuff, it's going to be a mess, you know. Obviously, process and workflow maturity, like Andronique said, you know, if you want to start documenting certain processes that are very repeatable and consistent, you know, like, and I would always suggest like just take a piece of paper, pretty much just draw out like each step of say documenting expenses, you know. If you buy something, do you have a receipt? Do you take a picture of the receipt? That's one step. Do you send that picture to an accountant? That's another step. When taxes come along, you know,
documenting your workflow and like actually the tasks. So that's something we go over in the AI GPA too. And like we've mentioned, we've sat down with some people, and there's no understanding of the workflow, especially for different departments. So having that documented is definitely going to be beneficial to you guys.
And you know, and every department is unique. We did an AI GPA for a really large company that works with the DoD. They've got parts on the Mars rover, and their production floor processes, like how to actually build their product, well documented. But then the rest of the business, not so much, right? So, but at least that gives us an area to start. And, you know, and again, you know, when I was talking, I don't know if you got through all 5 of those items. Yeah.
No, I mean, I would like, you got to talk to people in those specific departments, because like one person like might think it goes one way, and it might not actually be it might not actually be following those steps. There might be more steps. There might be less steps. There might be steps being skipped. You know, like you have to really make sure the more documentation you have, the easier it is to automate and get tangible results. You know?
And I want to add to this, and it's something that we are honestly learning as we go through this process with other organizations, is again, this is a business problem. This is not a technical one. And so, you know, being able to loop in the business leaders, the department heads, right, from the locations and the areas that you want to either implement a digital employee for or automate a workflow process with, you know, include those people. You know, this is not just an IT function. This literally is a business function. And I can't stress that enough. Make your AI GPA go that much more smooth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, obviously also the AI GPA also goes over technology stack, like how are your tools integrated? Is data accessible? Like how is information transferred throughout your business? You know? And then like we've talked about before, team readiness, culture. If your team isn't ready for AI and you just sort of throw it at them, they're either not going to use it, and then you're just burning cash, or they're going to use it ineffectively or against your policy or how you want it to be used. And that causes all sorts of headaches.
So again, going back to the vision, how are you going to influence your employees to really drive the AI automations and using it in a productive manner for your industry? So that's a big piece.
Yeah, and really, I mean, lastly, you know, like compliance, security, like two of the most important things. Like if you don't keep your information secure, you're yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's where it really gets all exciting. Because once we're able to go through those processes, we're actually able to put cash in your guys' pocket. You know, like at the end of the day, you care about results. You don't care about how you get there. You just have to, you know, walk the line a little bit to get there. Yeah, so once we look at every single department, like sales, marketing, operations, HR, we're able to actually show exactly where AI is going to save you time and make you money, the most important part. And really also to even just reducing like errors. Like, you know, if you can reduce your amount of errors throughout a month, that again makes you more money and saves you more time. And gets you to the real dollars. So.
Yeah, and eventually, you know, the whole, you know, the idea, of course, of the AI GPA, as Noah mentioned, is to help us identify the opportunities, right? And again, it starts, we talked about the measurement piece of this, how important it is. How do you know that something is successful and worth the investment or continued investment? And that's why having some structure around this. So one of the things, you know, that we feel is very, very important that every organization should have is some level of AI officer role, right? Whether that is fractional or whether that's full-time, whether that's dedicated or not, being able to have that oversight, right, around compliance, liability, security, et cetera. For those of you that have been in IT or around IT or business that have dealt with IT for a number of years, like I have, we've seen this evolutionary shift. We had have a CIO position, right, responsible for all of IT before. And that was where every IT position rolled up into. We later had a kind of an evolutionary shift, right, where cybersecurity and compliance became very, very, very important, where it was different sets of tools and resources. Those of you that have been on my cybersecurity briefings every week, I talk about this, right? The same skill set that you use in IT to manage capacity and performance and continuity is not the same that you use for protection and compliance. So we built a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, and that role is the leadership around cybersecurity and compliance and controls. Now we're seeing that third shift in you know, in our industry, right, and in business, where AI now is becoming so specialized that that the people that understand the cybersecurity and compliance, although important and a foundational piece of this, right? We have a risk and readiness part of our AI GPA for a reason, is not the same though as someone that understands the value and the guardrails around making AI work. It's not the same people that can make your capacity and your continuity and your performance work. So we are seeing the shift, needing that type of position again to drive the culture, to drive compliance, to put guardrails around things, and so the idea there, of course, is to prevent all of the problems that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
A lot of the times though, you know, like you might be thinking like, I don't have the manpower or even the money to say hire somebody like have somebody internally for that role. That's where we're coming into play, you know, because like we've said, you really need somebody to prioritize your AI opportunities, get your team involved, and then when it actually gets rolled out, you know, like like having all of the automations is great, but if we just like threw them at you or you just went on some random site and had these created, you wouldn't know how to properly implement them. You wouldn't know how to train the people to actually use it, you know, so you're getting the most value out of it. And then obviously like, is it compliant or not? You know, like
And I want to stress, you know, that you guys can do all this yourself. I've been saying that ever since the beginning, right? Like all of this is possible, right? We're trying to give you tools to do that. However, you know, by working with an organization that does this, right, you go faster, you make fewer mistakes, and that's often valuable to people. So
yeah, money loves speed.
Yeah.
Speed loves money.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to talk a little, maybe we should do a little Q&A. So I don't know, I could start, I guess, too, if you want to, underneath.
If you guys too want to jump in the chat and like give answers to any of these questions, feel free, please. Like, this is a conversation. We want some back and forth. We want you guys, you can turn your mute off, you can turn your cameras on. Really make this a conversation, because any feedback you give us, we can also help in this conversation or future conversations that we have with you. So anything and all.
I want to make this, your community, right? This is your content. There's things that we can talk about. There's things that we like to talk about, but I want to make sure that we talk about the things that are most important to you. Obviously, AI is a broad and ginormous topic, and so we every week we get to talk about something different, which we are, but maybe we aren't hitting the mark. So always keep me in the loop on that.
Yeah, if you have any other questions or anything too,
put them in the chat. So I want to talk, to the group and to you guys. As you guys are building out or investigating AI, right, to the community, to you guys, as we're doing these AI GPAs, in everyone's experience, what are some of the biggest mindset blocks that leaders have around learning with AI, and how do we help shift it? I'm going to put that out to the group. If you guys can comment if you'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've seen people a little afraid of it. That's probably like one of the biggest things, intimidated by using something completely new, completely foreign in the last couple of years, really in this last year. It's really like escalated quite a bit. And really getting that mind, like even myself, I'll give the example of myself. I was very I don't know about this. I'm a little afraid. How in the world do I ask something questions? I'm so used to Google. And I actually took a class back in college on how to use Google properly. I don't know if you guys, I can't remember the term for it, but you use the plus signs and the negative signs while you're typing it into Google. That doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. One, because we have AI, and two, Google got a little smarter over time as well. But with that being said, like creating that mindset shift that things are changing very quickly. So getting your organization and getting your people to change with that is going to be beneficial, not just for you as individuals, but for your future as a company.
Yeah, I mean, another thing too, obviously is the security side. Like people are afraid of the internet having their information, let alone some random AI model, but yeah, I mean, security and changing your mindset is...
I want to talk about the opposite, right? Like you guys are talking about the fearful side. What I see a lot is the overconfidence. So they are completely okay putting whatever they want into their AI models.
Yeah,
right?
We actually had something about that today in our leadership here at the conference.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah. And so, obviously you can see both sides, but that's a big area that I see. Yeah. And, and Bob, intimidated, maybe skeptical, right? So, part of the conversation that we're having, with the AI GPA, right, rolling it into some guardrails around, AI officer is how do we measure, for bias, and for accuracy, and for hallucinations, right? So if you've gone through an AI GPA, we asked 36 questions just on risk and readiness, and that's one of those topics. Can you guys talk about a moment when you personally realized that AI was more than just a tool, right? Like this is something that's going to be huge or valuable. I'd love to hear your stories, and put in the chat when you guys have that, and maybe you haven't yet. And so it's really, really important. I call it the aha moment of AI. That's why when I first talked about using Drive, that's when I had my first moment. So there's a book called The AI Driven Leader. I encourage anyone to go out and buy it. It's by an author named Jeff Woods, Geoff. And I've seen him speak a couple times at this particular event that we were at, not this time, but previously. And that's when I had my aha moment, right? He taught how to prompt better, right? And the results were astounding, right?
Mhm.
Steve Middleton, one of our customers, spoke last week, right, about how he's using conversational AI as a thought partnership, right? And he had his aha moment enough where he wanted to talk about it. How about you guys? Do you guys have one of those moments? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
No, that's good. I would say mine is very recent because, like I had mentioned, I didn't know how to use it. And I think really using it as that thought partner for me was kind of my aha moment of I don't have to be short with my questions. I can make something very like a paragraph and it takes that and generates something for me that makes sense. Whereas, when you're using any other like platform like Google, for example, you have to be short, you have to be very concise. If you misspell something, oftentimes you get something completely different. So that was kind of my aha moment, is how accurate it is.
And I will second that. So we have, and I haven't shared it with the group yet. Maybe this will be a future AI boardroom. I have several prompt templates, right? And some of them are a page long, right? And if you've ever tried or experimenting using image creation, using one of the AI tools, the more descriptive and specific you are, the better, right? And so that was my aha moment, is prompting, garbage in, garbage out, and you put good stuff in, can get amazing stuff out.
It's almost like the opposite of Google. It's like, say more.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah.
100%.
Shifting a little bit to culture and kind of departmental learning. What do you guys feel is one of the more easier areas or departments to embed AI learning into, and why does it click there first, do you think? For me, it's usually sales, right?
Yep.
Like, and or content creation around sales, simply because you can see an immediate result of something that you normally would do manually. But do you guys have any other thoughts, or anyone in the audience have anything that they think might be an easy win to learn AI?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say sales, marketing, really, content creation, like you said, like, 'cause that's where you could tangibly see the results.
Yeah, so one of the things that we are doing is thanks, Jason. I'll talk about that too. We are, as part of our when we do the AI GPA, right? We talk about fractional AI officer. I call it virtual chief AI officer. We have we talk a little bit about the platform that we're going to provide, and one of the things that is common across that we want to include is kind of a standard automation, is the marketing side, right? Creating that content.
And there's honestly like a little bit less like room for, I mean, like if something goes wrong with
what's the big deal, right?
Yeah.
Like you post something that's a little bit funny, right? Or not, right? Like there's no huge customer impact, right? If your marketing content that you're going to put to LinkedIn is not exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So Amber, talks about meeting summaries, right? So obviously we use that every single day, and that almost becomes so boring now, right? Because it's so commonplace, right? But it is actually pretty amazing. When you think about the technology, right? We are using Microsoft Copilot. I see a number of AI note takers in. We joke about how everyone's just sending their note takers. And sometimes the note takers out populate human beings. But yeah, being able to do summaries, right? Transcription of meetings and conversations. I use the paid version of Copilot. So if you guys want to do that, talk to me. But that's plugged right into your Microsoft Office tenant. And so middle of meetings, I can ask questions like, what have we talked about so far? What are some good follow-up questions that'll help me do that? Jason talks about admissions in healthcare, and yeah, so part of the AI GPA, right? We want to talk about what are some of those workflows, right, that make the most sense. Admissions intake, right? We work with lawyers, law firms, getting information for new customers. We're using and kind of building out, I know as the chief architect on that, is some of that AI automation for our intake with our AI GPA. So yeah, great stuff. And Jason, I want to talk to you more about how you guys are using that. What advice would you guys give to a manager, a leader that has a team that may be nervous about AI, right? Or maybe they're using it overconfidently without oversight. What advice would you give them?
I mean, I think it goes back to learning, like for a team that's nervous about AI, it's probably because they just aren't knowledgeable enough, like
I don't want to make mistakes, right? Like I'd be scared too.
And a confused mind.
Yeah.
Is like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, like you are the chief learning officer of your team,
Mhm.
and if as a leader or a manager, if you're not stepping into that role, and like basically showing your team okay, this isn't really as big of a change as you might think,
Yeah.
and teaching them the roots like that.
And
that's what I
I
would
think
say.
like it comes down to asking questions is a lot of it. Asking them what their concerns or fears might be, because a lot of times you can wean those out or be more receptive to what they might be experiencing internally. If it's a lot of times it comes down to just some simple fear that they just didn't know the answer to. So asking them those deeper questions to really gather that information and to maybe help them get to the next step of like being a little bit more open-minded and implementing something like every 15 minutes on a Thursday or whenever you or they have time to kind of understand how to ask those questions in to AI in a better way and an easier way using the drive method.
Yeah. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'd also I mean, or was I sorry, my brain just
Well, what I was gonna say, you talked about asking better questions, and like, well, one of the follow-up conversations I was going to make was how do we encourage healthy AI use and curiosity, right? And really in a healthy environment where you have all the guardrails in place, it is more about people asking better questions, not just getting faster answers, right? And I think that is a huge point.
I also think a lot of the times what we're seeing like with like a nervous team that doesn't want to implement AI, even if you do, or doesn't want to use it, is honestly people are nervous AI is going to take their jobs, and being able to actually talk to them and show them how it's not going to take your job, it's going to actually save you time and make you more effective at your job. I think that calms the nerves a lot.
And I think the way to word it is think about like one of the biggest things we hear from employees and from people in general is I am overworked. I feel like I have no work-life balance. We hear that everywhere all the time. I think AI is this next really big step to get people to say, oh, I actually am getting my work-life balance back because I have this automation that is now doing the task that took me, 15 hours out of the week to do every single other week or whatever it might be. And that's going to break it down for them to say, it's not taking your job, it's taking those tasks that you're doing in your job or that you're wearing multiple hats for to make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, we're starting to wrap up close to the hour. And again, for those of you that joined late, the reason why we're all together, we don't have a coordinated presentation is because we are at an AI conference, right? So the whole idea about learning and culture shift is being driven home here. We want to drive it home to you guys. But one of the things, as part of, if you are an existing customer of ours, right, part of our full managed services, you get access to the AI GPA, right, as part of it's free. And so, schedule it. But I want to ask you guys, like when we run an AI GPA for a customer or a prospect, what part of the assessment usually surprises the leader the most, or even you guys? Like what surprises do you usually see?
I mean, it's not really a surprise so much, but because there are these industries that typically you guys have so much going on, the workflows is definitely a big part of it. If I'm answering that right.
Maybe lack of documentation.
Yeah,
flows.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know so much about a surprise, right? But it is like a I mean, it's just the reality of it,
Yeah.
right? Like we all have a lot of workflows that we have in our business, and sometimes a lot of that is in, I call it institutional knowledge, right? Where it's in somebody's head and above and not on paper.
I feel like it's almost like a counseling session for your industry, which is really good because it really makes you think. And that's why I'm telling you guys, if you haven't done the AI GPA yet, then make sure you're starting to think about this stuff before we get online with you and really go over these detailed questions, because it's really weaning out everything, but in a good systematic way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say like on the leader side, I think being able to actually like think about how each individual task is done, the leaders are sort of shocked to realize how many like consistent and repeatable tasks like are in their business,
It's like
and how much time,
operationalized. You got to work on that word. I
Yeah.
understand that. Yeah.
like how much time is actually being wasted when you really look at the full picture just on doing the exact same tasks every day, every week, every month.
Yeah, and what I see leaders most surprised, well, two areas is the amount of opportunity that they didn't even realize that they had, right? There's true dollar value in this, and again, the whole idea of having some structure around this is to be able to measure that, making sure that the investment is still worth it. But a lot of leaders are often surprised, like, wow, that's like I didn't realize that we had this much opportunity. Some of it, of course, is on the negative side, maybe not really understanding how much rogue use of AI is being done in their organization, right? But the biggest thing that I see is the surprise of how much opportunity. Do you have any questions at all for the group, or?
Let's see here. Yeah, for you actually.
Oh, geez.
When you meet with leadership teams during the assessments, do you usually see more of them being learners or more of delegators? And what costs do they have if they stay in that delegator position?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question, and I think we see probably a mix of it, and I think if someone is a natural delegator, this doesn't change with AI. If you are a natural learner, right, that you see that come out too. And again, I'm a big believer, even if you are someone that tends to delegate, I delegate, but really understanding what you are actually delegating. And again, you don't need to be an AI engineer or an expert, right? You just need to be able to understand value and work towards that. But what we find, right, the consequence of people that delegate this completely away is an over-reliance maybe on outside resources or even inside resources, right? People come and go, right? So you need to be able to, as leaders, be able to account for that change. And so if you are delegating all of it away, you're going to end up with these check the box type solutions. We see increased risk of bias and ethical misuse, legal issues, liability. One of the first AI boardrooms that we had, we talked about the lawsuit that was going on in California with that AI company that does HR recruiting. Right, there is an environment where this system was auto declining applicants, right, over a certain age, and they're in big trouble for that. So that's a dramatic example, right? But if you completely don't understand any of it as a leader, this risk may bypass your understanding, and it may come and bite you later. I think that you lose a little credibility with your team too. Right. I think if you want to build a culture, especially around AI, which is new for a lot of people, being able to learn it at least at some level of understanding the value allows you to be looked at as more of a credible leader, which then I think will accelerate adoption. The things where I see things fail is again where it's not a top-down business driver and the business leaders don't understand any of this stuff. And they're saying, I don't get it, but you got to do it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I see a big problem with that.
Yeah, it's hard to manage a team if you don't know what you're managing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I joke a little bit about this. I know this is gonna hit home, right? But technology, of course, is one of those things that I believe very wholeheartedly, has a seat at the C-level table. And And this is no different. So being able to have, this fractional AI officer be at that level, you get the credibility, right? You got a team of people, right, that understands it to be able to manage and lead it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys have any questions?
Yeah, please, if you guys have any questions, put it in the chat. Amber was kind enough to put my Calendly link. I asked her to, so not to surprise you guys, but if number one, if you have any questions you want to talk about this specifically, underneath, if you are an existing customer, if you're not, we'll still probably chase you down. But underneath will be touching base and following up to get your AI GPA scheduled. And again, we'll talk about what that means, and she'll talk about how to better prep for it. Right, we're learning, right, as we go through this and getting better at this. But if you want to, schedule more time to talk through this, or we could start it as an AI GPA, use my Calendly. But do you have, if you guys have any other questions, we should just send out a message to everybody with Jeff, Amber. Let's send a message with Jeff Woods' book link. I think that would be useful for everybody to read. AI driven leader. Yeah. And there's a whole section about AI readiness in there. It's very, very simple. We take a far more comprehensive approach to risk and readiness, but you'll get a sense of it. And again, that was my aha moment about a year ago. Like, I've been tinkering and dabbling, right? Like is the word we use with AI tools for a long time, but that's where I really okay, there's something here. So.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys don't have any questions, unless you can think of any right off the bat, we'd love to answer them. Again, this is a conversation. Every time we do these, we want you guys here, engaged, excited. Yeah. If there's something that we're not hitting on, let us know so we can actually have a conversation about it and get it going.
Yeah, I'd love to, maybe, and not this time, but maybe next time we start to poll for topics, right? So maybe we build up a poll within teams.
Yeah.
And next week will be 2 weeks from now. I know we're still kind of working out content. Those of you that follow any of my social media, I hope you do, right? I'm talking about different things, and a couple things is, GPT-5 coming out, which is pretty cool. It should be, I don't know when they release it, it's coming out soon. Many of you maybe have heard about ChatGPT agent that's out, right? And we could talk the good, bad, the ugly.
Yeah, I mean,
with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have seen the agent, it makes it even more important to have an AI policy. Yeah. Because you can literally give
fractional AI.
Yeah. I mean,
because I mean, the risk here, right? Imagine that you've got anybody on the team now that could expose all of your company data, email, SharePoint, and plug in almost anything through a web browser that can log into anything.
Yeah.
So the cool part is the amazing opportunity that we would love to help you work through, right, to show, and that's why we do the AI GPA. But that also drives home, again, story after story of the importance of having that those guardrails around adoption and protection. So yeah, Amber said that she'll send it out. She also has poor internet. We're all at the hotel here, and the hotel internet is just awful. So anyway, any questions? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. I actually didn't even plan to go this long, so I'm glad most of you stuck it out. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Or if you have anything that you'd like us to talk about in the next one.
Yeah,
it's
message
topic.
Yeah, or message here, message me, message underneath, message Noah.
Yeah.
You guys, most of you know that you've been working with us for a while, how to get a hold of us, but. Amber, anything you have? I know you're sketchy internet, but
he's thinking of a calculus
Not
question.
sure how my audio comes through okay or not, but
yeah, sort of.
Yeah, I don't have any questions today, but we'll definitely get that link out to you for Jeff Wood's book. There's a lot of great information there.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, guys.
And go ahead, that link for the scheduling too.
Yep. So hit my scheduling link if you guys want. And again, Andronique will be following up with you as well. Again, reach out. I appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay curious.